Hi, welcome again to season 3 of the Digital Rights Africa podcast, where we discuss everything privacy and data protection, cybersecurity, child online protection, intellectual property, and data governance issues across Africa. My name is Teki Akuetteh, and I will be your host for today. I'm very, very excited about this season because we have two eminent gentlemen from the IT community in Ghana, and we just want to pick their brains and learn a bit more about what they do. And joining me,
Abubakar Issaka, the president of the Cybersecurity Expert Association of Ghana.
Yes, I am Patrick de Souza. Currently, I'm the ICT director for the University of Health and Allied Sciences in Ho.
All right, welcome, gentlemen, to this. I almost said blue table or green table. It's a brown table, but it's very, very exciting to have you here. I just want to pick your brain. So I really ended up in this space, particularly because I found people in the IT community, in the computer science community, problematic. I thought that they wanted to strip us of all our rights and everything else. And so that is actually one of the reasons for the Africa Digital Rights Hub, because I thought that in the digital space, we need not lose these rights. I think it's very fundamental to us as human beings. So let me start from there. I'll start with you, Patrick, then I'll come to Abubakar. Yes. Do you think digital rights are relevant from where you sit as technology people?
Yes, it is very relevant. In fact, for me, it's now one of the basic rights of humans. Okay, because the world now revolves around information and digital information for that matter. So we need to have rights to this information. I don't want my information out there for other people accessing without my permission, so to speak. So there's a need to put in measures and controls as to who can access what information at what time and for what purpose. So yes, digital rights are very important.
Let me come to you, Abubakar. Maybe you may have a different opinion, and I would love to hear that.
Well, I don't have a different opinion. I have the same opinion, so I'm sharing the same opinion. See, digital rights is very important in the sense that the way technology has been evolving there is a need for every citizen or everybody to know and be aware and be conscious of the fact that they also have certain rights and, should I say, privileges that is associated with them when they are accessing the digital infrastructure or the digital system. So at least even if you are accessing, if you are deploying, and even if you want to access any information, you also own that right and the privacy that should be bestowed on you. But I also believe there should be a conscious effort in educating these rights to people to know that this is the right I have.
I think that I'm really looking for more controversial IT people in the room. But since you don't want to go there, I'm going to push you into that space.
Okay.
Now, digital rights, I have sat with people in your community, and sometimes they see it as a challenge to innovation, right? So people have looked at things like, restrictions. So if you're looking at cybersecurity restrictions about what should be done, what cannot be done, we're talking about AI. People are scraping information. You're looking at data protection. There are laws about what should be done, what should not be done. So from that perspective, how do you think digital rights should sit alongside innovation and growth in the IT space, which I know you hold dearly to your hearts?
Yes, if I may come in. Well, for innovation purposes, innovators or developers need access to some kind of data.
Yes.
So there should be some kind of data that is available freely.
Okay.
Okay. But there are some types of data that are very personal.
Okay.
And for those data, you need to have rights to access, use, reuse those data, because those data are personal to individuals. There are general data out there, information out there that you could use. So, yes, I would say there's some types of data that are very personal and should remain personal, and for which there must be controls and regulations to accessing and using such data. The data is vast. There's so much data out there that we as IT professionals can rely on and use to do our various innovations. But there are some types of data that need rights for you to access.
Abubakar, let me come to you on that.
Well, in the context of innovation and the rights, I will pick it from the point of adaptability. You see, we are having a culture or a system, practically, I'm speaking from the practical point of view, where we have a system where people are not readily adapting to innovation and the sort of protection that is associated with their right that they are actually agitating for. So in a practical institution where I come in as a cybersecurity expert, then I expect that you comply with policy A, B, or C in order to ensure privacy. Then I will need to also conscientize them to know the importance of what I am trying to bring on board, so that you can, at the end of the day, adapt the innovation and also believe and have full confidence that this is in your best interest, instead of putting it out there and making it a form of pushing it on them. Then at the end of the day, they may not be able to adapt it or use it as if this is actually my right. That is the context I want us to look at this point in time.
That is quite interesting, and I think it triggered something in my mind, having worked in the policy space for a while, and especially trying to convince lawmakers and policymakers to adopt a particular policy, particularly around things like cybersecurity, privacy, online child protection, and the like. A lot of the time, we get pushed back, right? Again, coming back to the earlier question that I asked on the fact that most of our countries see ICT as a huge innovative platform to accelerate socioeconomic development. And so without necessarily linking why it is important, right, to have this alongside whatever vision. So what I used to then ask them was that it's impossible, in my opinion, it is impossible to achieve innovation the way we want it without necessarily respecting rights. And so I'm just going to ask you whether you have that kind of thoughts around these issues as well. Because I think a lot of the time we just want to run away with it. We're seeing what is happening in the AI space now, where everybody thinks that I should have access to everything and do whatever it is that I want, and we should be left to be free. But do you think that without recognition of these rights, the environment would even be ripe for the kind of innovation that we want in the space? I'll start with you, Abubakar, and then I'll go to
recognizing the rights in terms of the fast approaching innovation. I will pick it on the context. I always like to be practical a bit, where possibly as a cybersecurity expert, there are certain innovations that are actually popping in. But then once you see it as an innovation for you to adapt, but you should know that there is responsibility that is also attached to the innovation. So once you think this is my right, but there is an equal responsibility that is attached to the innovation that you are coming up.
Abubakar, let me, not to cut you, let me just jump in a bit so that I get where you're coming from. But what about the school of thought that just thinks that, look, I want to have what I want to have to do whatever I want to do? Do you think that the existence or people's recognition that I have rights is going to inhibit that? So assuming that I feel unsafe online, for instance, will I put my information out there? I'm trying to just draw that out of this to see how you people think about these issues.
Well, maybe you may want to come in on this aspect, but I believe that with the concept of the responsibility I am talking about, once you are adapting to the innovation that is available for you, that you are assessing, you should also be conscious that there are rights, but then there are actual responsibilities that is available for you to also be using, so that at the end of the day, you can be able to actively operate within the innovation that exists.
I'll push you again. What if there are no rights?
Well, that is when that is so interesting. I like your question, but please let's move to him. I'll respond to that.
I will come back to you.
So, there's so much data out there.
Yeah.
There are data controllers, there are users, all that kind of stuff. If I feel unsafe putting my data online, why is that so? Okay, it means that data could be misused. So what are the modalities that are in place to ensure my safety? So then we expect that regulators will put in the proper regulations so that my data that is out there can be put to responsible use.
Okay.
Okay. With my permission.
Okay.
Okay. For example, you go to the hospital, all right? You give your personal data. The doctor has information on you.
Yes.
There's so much the doctor knows about you.
Yes.
Does the doctor put it out there?
Yes.
You need to have rights to that. Because some of the information may come with some level of stigmatization. I have HIV. The doctor puts it out there, and you see it in the newspapers. Oh, Patrick de Souza has HIV.
Yes, but what about the data may be useful for development of AI?
Yes, so that's why I said to responsible. So there must be regulations, there must be controls.
Okay.
So I should be contacted and said, okay, we want to use your information to be able to develop this system or develop this policy to help others. Then that is fine. So putting my data to responsible use with my permission is fine. But without my permission, then it becomes a challenge. And that's why we have a lot of court cases where people are suing for their information being used without their permission. So I believe firmly, although I'm an ICT person, I believe firmly in responsible use of data and rights.
Wow.
Yes, let me add up to that. Yeah. I actually like the approach he's coming up with. From the financial concept, you see a financial institution having people having facility that is defaulting, thereby increasing their delinquency. At the point in time, they will have to send this information out to even announce on the radio station that Mr. A, Mr. B is owing this amount of money. First of all, this is a violation of my right of privacy. So now, there comes the regulation. What is the regulation that is actually covering these contexts that is being used? You are entitled to take my information. You are entitled to take my financial information. At the end of the day, if I'm violating, what are the modalities, or at what point can my information therefore be released in terms of this context? So I support and agree with the fact that there should be regulations that is guiding the owners of the data that has been entitled to, and then you, the information that you, the person that is actually giving the information to them, so that you will know that at the point in time, once I'm giving my information to you, then I have the right that protect it for me. If you don't protect it, what are the consequences that is being attached to
Let
that?
me push you to emerging technologies, specifically AI. We're seeing a lot happening in this space. also across Africa. We're seeing a lot of scraping of data online. Within even the data protection context, usually information that has been made publicly available, there's almost like an implied consent to be able to use that data. In recent times, we've seen decisions in Beijing, for instance, around violations relating to copyright and all of that. So where you are, where you're looking at individuals having access and recognizing those rights, how would you, and I'm happy that at least we have people in the IT community that believe in digital rights, because we hardly find that, but looking at the new technologies that are coming up, especially those ones that are requiring huge amounts of data, maybe in bits, maybe, how do we, because to some extent, the individuality is lost somehow within the maze of the collection and the mass collection of these issues around purpose. And so even if you're looking at data protection issues, you have challenges there. There may be also challenges around cybersecurity. And just to say, so how would you place those rights within the context of AI, for instance? And what can we be doing? And I'm asking you guys because you are in the IT space. Yeah. You understand these technologies better than we do. So if I have my data in some IT databases or models, how do I even know about it to exert any rights that I have?
All right. So if a data controller or processor has your data, he or she has the rights to that data with your permission. Okay. But they've collected that data. Okay. But for him or her to give that data out, there must be some consent from you. Now, I operate in a university. We collect data on students, date of birth and all those things. They are there. We use it for university purposes. But we cannot give that data out without consent of the students.
Okay.
Okay. If you have AI, generative AI, chat GPT, whatever, students are using that to do their assignments.
Yes.
And lecturers are having challenges. A lot of people want it banned. There's no framework, there's no regulation on AI, generative AI, chat GPT. Okay. So there's a whole chaos in there. I've been telling my people, and I've even mentioned it to GTech, which controls the universities, that you need to come up with a framework that encompasses generative AI, because it has come to stay. There's not much you can do about it. Now, AI, you put your data, your request in there, your prompt, it comes back with information. But that information needs to be referenced.
Yes.
So whoever has created that information needs to be referenced. Then you've given the acknowledgement that this information...
So they should acknowledge ChatGPT.
Exactly.
But ChatGPT itself, who is ChatGPT acknowledging? Because it has amassed all these information from other sources.
Yes. So that's where the student or lecturer has to do some more work. ChatGPT has given you this information. Go back online and check where that information is coming from and do the proper referencing.
Okay.
All right. So yes. I admire the angle he's bringing it with. But you see, AI is an innovation that has come within a year. It has skyrocketed. But just opposing it with data protection, privacy, and all that, we need to also look at the user ability to understand that there are certain regulations that is actually infringing upon the violation of using these particular innovations that is coming on in terms of AI. Now, look at this context that I'm going to. You see, Canva is an artificial intelligence. A lot of institutions or individuals uses Canva to generate logos. Zeroing it down to, let's say, our context. You understand that once you generate a logo, you think, oh, I am accessing this information, I am accessing this data, it is my right. So it is my right to now use it. But the information given to you is 1, repetitive. 2, against certain regulations like patent law, copyright issues, and all that. So we need to pay attention so that we don't confuse the right by then jumping in to violate certain regulations that we think that, oh, this is our right for us to use because the artificial intelligence has actually given us the mandate to access the information, and it is our digital right to be able to access it.
Wow, I love that, gentlemen, but I think our time is up. But before we fold up, I'm just going to ask one last question. Maybe you can answer it in a second or 2 seconds. From where you sit, what would you say to your community in order to really start seriously thinking about digital rights issues across Africa?
Well, I'll start by saying that we need to do more capacity building. We need to let people know that in as much as we are adapting the innovation, we are adapting the technology, we need to understand our right. Just as we are doing in the manual system, where you see people shouting, I know my right. But how well are people knowing their right in this digital age or innovation that we are adapting to? That is the need that we need to move into even the interland, throughout to anybody that is accessing any digital infrastructure, to know that you have the right to access, the right to use, the right to deploy, and all that.
Thank you very much, Abubakar. Patrick?
Yes, so for me, I'll just say that every information that you are accessing was created by somebody. And so you must know what rights pertain to that information before you go ahead and use it.
Wow,
Thank
all
you.
too soon. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We've come to the end of this segment, and it's unfortunate. I wish I had you here for an hour or 2 so I could dig a little deeper to uncomfortable subjects, but I think they have really done a good job. And for me, what is really great about this episode is that hearing it, because I have always from the beginning said I've been skeptical about people in the IT space and digital rights. But to hear that there are individuals in the IT space that see digital rights as fundamental, as important, is really refreshing. And I think if there is anything to go by from what we've had today, it is the fact that we need to continue to educate everyone in the space, all the stakeholders, to ensure that they really know what rights are coming away to this. And I think this is also a call, particularly for ADRH, to start doing a lot more work around digital rights awareness as well. So thank you very much, gentlemen, once again. And we look forward to hosting you on another podcast soon. Please do well to subscribe to our page and join us next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.